something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it as we kick off another brand new day here live from the shadow of Detroit in the Rust Belt, here in the heart of America. It's the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. A lot to get to, so let's get right to work, shall we? Here are three big things you need to know. Number one, the DNC is still paying off the massive debts of Kamala Harris and her swan dive presidential campaign. Yep, a year later, the bill's still unpaid. Nice job, everybody. Number two, Hillary Clinton mocking President Trump's renovation of the White House to add a 90,000 square foot ballroom to the East Wing, then gets torched for stealing the silverware. Remember that? She stole the silverware on the way out of the White House. And number three, let's dive deep into the heart of what makes America exceptional. Our God-given right, that's right, God-given right to free speech. Let me tell you, folks, if there's one outfit that's been battling tooth and nail to keep that flame alive, it's Real America's Voice, where I appear every day twice, right here. Real Clear Politics put out a piece recently, Real America's Voice and the Real Cost of Free Speech. You should take a look at it during the break. Rob Sig and the rest of the team here at America's Voice are American heroes, plain and simple. They've built RAV from the ground up, giving a megaphone to bold conservative voices like mine and, of course, people like Charlie Kirk, whose message has now reached more hearts and minds than ever before. RAV isn't just another network, it's a disruptor, paving the way for courageous patriots who dare to speak truth and power in an internet age rigged against us. They've faced shadow bans, ad boycotts that even spilled over to the Weather Channel they own. Talk about vindictive. But the SIGs, they haven't backed down. They're all about that never surrender spirit, blending faith and fight to prove the elites wrong every day. RAV is showing us how to build a future on an internet where conservative ideas flow free, lifting all boats in the marketplace of ideas. They're the vanguard folks, ensuring voices like mine and yours aren't drowned out by the swamp. But here's the thing. Free speech isn't just a nice-to-have thing. It's a bedrock of our republic. The First Amendment isn't some suggestion. It's a shield against tyranny. It lets us debate, dissent, and dream big without fear of Big Brother slapping us down. In America, we preserve it against all comers. Whether it's sneaky societal censorship from woke universities or outright governmental overreach. Lose free speech and you lose everything. Innovation, accountability, the very soul of our republic. We've seen what happens when it's eroded. Ideas stagnate. Truth gets buried or burned. And power consolidates the hands of the very few. That's why conservative warriors fight so hard. We're not just defending words. We're here defending freedom itself every single day. Now, look around the world. You'll see the nightmare we're up against if we let the left win here. Take Germany, for example. Once a beacon of post-war democracy, now turning it into a thought police state. In 2025, their new coalition government's pushing for tighter controls on public debate, all in the name of protecting democracy. Right. That's what they're doing. Hillary Clinton wants us to follow suit. Professor and attorney Jonathan Turley watched her try to weaponize the EU against us firsthand. Here's what he said.
The Berlin World Forum followed the remarks of Vice President Vance on free speech, and the EU was red hot. They gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever been part of. There's only two of us from the free speech community. And they are committed. And, you know, Hillary Clinton was there, and she really fueled the anger. I mean, she, when Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, she called on the EU to use the infamous Digital Services Act, which is one of the most anti-free speech pieces of legislation in decades. And she called upon the EU to use the DSA to force the censorship of American citizens, force people like Musk to censor. It's an extraordinary act by someone who was once a presidential candidate in the United States. But they are committed to it. And after the World Forum, they further globalized this effort, and they are threatening companies like X with ruinous fines unless they resume censoring American citizens.
Can you believe it? Censoring American citizens. I say hell no. Prosecutors raiding homes over online hate speech. Defending these crackdowns is necessary to safeguard society. It's straight out of Orwell. Say the wrong thing about immigration or politics, bam, fines, arrests, or worse. Europe's courts are prioritizing other goods over expression, creating a chilling effect that's spreading like wildfire. The UK? Oh, it's no better. Under Keir Starmer's regime, free speech is under siege. They're arresting 30 people a day on average for petty stuff like retweets or cartoons that offend the sensitive snowflakes. The Online Safety Act is expanding its tentacles, curbing speech under the guise of safety. Ordinary Brits getting hauled in for daring to question the narrative on riots or immigration. It is a sinister turn, folks. Censoring citizens while the elites preach tolerance, of course. Of course, their end goal is for all platforms to fall in line with mainstream talking points. And they almost had it until alternative platforms like Telegram and Parler were launched. And then Elon Musk bought Twitter and turned it into X. And conservative ideas have reached farther than ever, thank God. Which is why these innovators have the biggest targets on their backs. RFK Jr. says the United States should be standing up for them around the world. Listen.
Europe is now censoring speech openly. We saw the arrest of Pablo Durov, the head of Telegram, when he landed to refuel in France. He was dragged off his airplane and put in jail because of free speech, because they didn't like what was written about the Ukraine war. We see the head of the European Commission, Thierry Breton, threatening Elon Musk that if he has a live interview on Twitter X Spaces with President Trump, the former president of the United States, the nominee of one of our two great political parties, that would be violating, that Musk was going to be criminally and civilly prosecuted for penalties amounting to 6% of the value of his company. And what should our government be doing about that? The Biden administration, if we really were promoting democracy around the world as we claim, instead of fighting a war in Ukraine, we should be screaming at the rooftops against these governments and threatening sanctions against them if they censor their people.
I could not possibly agree more. Free speech is a foundational principle of Western civilization. That's what it is. My ability to sit here and have a conversation with you is foundational. It's a basic principle. It's who we are. The ability to sit and have conversations, robust, powerful exchanges of ideas, sometimes loud, sometimes raucous, sometimes angry. That's how we built this country. Debating ideas. You see, if you don't know what the ideas are, you don't know the difference between good and wicked. Free speech is foundational, folks, and I've got more. What about the free speech up in Canada? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that after the break. Nice to see you here. Free speech. Free speech, free speech. It's foundational to me. It's not up for debate, if you will. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to see you here today. Follow us on all the social media platforms. Smash the like button. I'll be right back. All right, Canada. Our friends to the north are no better, I can assure you of that, when it comes to free speech. Following Charlie Kirk's murder, they're cracking down on political speech in workplaces, stifling debate under hate speech laws that sound downright authoritarian. Cities are clamping down with bills like C-63, empowering bureaucrats to silence dissent every single day. Even their attorney general echoes calls for more restrictions, making hate speech a catch-all for anything the left doesn't like. It's a global crackdown. And America's not immune if we don't fight back. That's what I'm telling you. Which reminds me of the dark days under the Biden regime. Talk about censorship tyranny. We can't forget or else history will repeat itself. For years, big tech acted as the enforcement arm of the radical left, shadow banning, deplatforming, and outright censoring conservatives like me. Remember the COVID lockdowns? Question the experts and poof, your account's gone. Election integrity concerns labeled misinformation scrubbed. A full-on assault with the White House pressuring tech giants to silence Americans. Mark Zuckerberg, he admitted it. He admitted it, remember?
When they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And now I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, you know, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration. I think it was I wasn't involved in those conversations directly, but I think it was.
How difficult is that to not be involved in those conversations directly?
Yeah. The truth is still coming out, by the way. Zuckerberg, he was censor-in-chief. He was part and parcel to it. He's trying to distance himself now, of course, give money to the Trump inauguration and so forth. Don't buy it. The truth's still coming out. Google just admitted in a bombshell letter to the House Judiciary Committee, thanks to Chairman Jim Jordan's relentless oversight, God bless that man, by the way, Google confessed that the Biden crew pushed them to censor content that didn't even violate their policies. They called it unacceptable and wrong, vowing never to rely on third-party fact-checkers again or bow to European censorship laws that target Americans and their free speech. They even promised to reinstate thousands of banned YouTube accounts kicked off for political speech on COVID and elections. Haven't seen it happen across the board yet, but they claim they're working on it. Folks, this is huge. A direct admission that the deep state colluded with Silicon Valley to muzzle us, to muzzle you, to shut you up. But it's not enough. We need accountability, not just apologies. We can't let this happen again. Free speech is our line in the sand. It's what separates us from those authoritarian regimes abroad. Disinformation, misinformation, these are catch-all words that tyrants have been using, well, for decades, long before Joe Biden stumbled into the Oval Office. There's a documentary on YouTube now. It came out this week, The God Complex, The Rise of America's Censorship Machine. It's free to watch, and it points to the Soviet Union's use of disinformation crackdowns. Listen to this.
Soviet Union created the notion of disinformation, that there was one central truth, and that was held up high both by the Politburo, by those in power of the Communist Party, and it instilled truth from the top down. So this sort of brings us back to the dramatic difference between an American approach about decentralized truth, trust in the masses, trust in the average citizen, versus a top-down approach where there is a central truth.
Now, the left knows, at least I think they do, that the Soviet Union, they were the bad guys. But they sure ripped a page out of their playbook, didn't they? In the MAGA era, we've got to double down, support warriors like the SIGs at Real America's Voice, back leaders like Jim Jordan and Senator Schmidt, who exposed the censorship industrial complex and demand big tech play fair. Vote with your wallets, your views, your voices. Because if we preserve free speech against societal boycotts, government pressure, and global trends, we preserve and save America. Let's make it great, keep it free, and never, ever surrender. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Again, I ask you, who is with me? Free speech above all else, even if it offends me, enrages me, hurts my feelings, it doesn't matter. Free speech is the foundational principle of this country. And again, I say, who is with me? Hopefully you. Social media censored lots of facts about the pandemic and vaccines that turned out to be true. What if those who were once called conspiracy theorists turned out to be right again? Well, a new study by Korean doctors claimed that COVID vaccines raise the risk of 6 cancers, including lung, breast, and prostate. Researchers analyzed health records from more than 8.4 million adults between 2021 and 2023, and their findings were published in Biomarker Research, a respected scientific journal. Critics dismiss it, of course, but the data raises concerns that spike protein exposure may be tied to long-term health risks. Dr. Peter McCullough has been aware of this since 2020, which is why he collaborated with a wellness company to create the Ultimate Spike Detox, designed to help your body clear spike proteins, reduce inflammation, and support heart health with natural ingredients. Dandelion root, bromelain, is your daily proactive defense from a man-made virus. Don't wait until symptoms strike or something unexpected happens. Experience the only formula approved and used by Dr. McCullough, one of the top doctors who risked it all, who risked censorship. Go to twc.health/Gruber. Use the code Gruber, get 10% off and free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/Gruber. Promo code Gruber, get 10% off. Get back to that pre-COVID feeling. Wouldn't that be nice? Again, all the social media platforms follow. We've got a movement here. It's a free speech revolution for the second time. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, I'm going to need Brock Palmbush for this segment of the program. Brock, are you standing by? Are you ready?
I am here, sir. Yes.
All right, so here is the headline, and I know you saw it. Anthony, I think we've got the soundbite here. I want to roll it from Tom Izzo, right? Whatever mark that is. That's number 12. Roll that for him.
You hit a sore spot for me because the transfer portal is enough. You know, we have no rules. And now we just taken no rules and add some more no rules. And if everybody likes that, that's good. And I feel bad if a kid came out early. Maybe we shouldn't come out early. Maybe we should do a better job.
All right, the point here is this.
Kids make decisions.
Louisville has put a guy on their basketball team, a college team, from a guy who got paid $1.1 million for playing 2 seasons in a G League, a professional league. Apparently, pro players, if they don't work it out, can come back to college now. Tom Izzo, unimpressed, Brock. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I get where he's coming from. I agree with him. Yeah, the G League is basically the NBA's minor league. Yeah, it's a slippery slope. He joked yesterday that he was thinking about calling Jaren Jackson Jr., who's, of course, played at Michigan State for just 1 year and could, I guess, come back. come back. And he joked that Magic Johnson,
I saw
who's
that.
who's in his 60s, but only played 2 years at Michigan State.
Bring him back.
Could come back and finish your eligibility. Yeah,
Yeah.
he joked about that.
Is college sports dead, Brock? That's my point. You've got, Bryce Underwood making what, $12 million, University of Michigan to be quarterback. You've got players that were
amongst
pros
many
coming
others
back.
that are making money. It's a slippery slope. I'm not against the players getting money, but the NCAA should have put guardrails on this from the start 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And because they didn't, and because they insist on giving a lot of money to administrators and coaches, which is why we have NIL in the first place. No cap. There's no cap. There's no guardrails.
There's nothing.
And they've created their own problem.
There you go. Tom
In my
Izzo. Oh, by the way, Izzo got ripped because he's got a player that's like playing for his 6th year in college. So some
Right.
people fought back. Anyhow, that's all the time I got. We'll talk more about this. What has happened to college sports? Is it dead? It'll be a conversation coming up soon here on the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. All right, I'll tell you the truth. I do own some silver a little bit. It's hard to store. I mean, you want silver, you better have a place to put it, right? It takes up a fair amount of space. I have a little tiny bit of gold, and I sit here watching the price go out of control here for, I don't know, the last 6 months. It just went wild. And I'm thinking, man, I wish I'd bought more gold, right? Today, $4,110 as we sit here. It's up 48% year over year. Silver's up 43%. But why? Joining me now is Terry Sawchuk. He's here today to discuss all of this from Sawchuk Wealth. Terry, welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Steve.
All right, so this thing about people buying gold, you say there's some truth to it, but there's a lot of misinformation, which I find shocking. There's misinformation out there, Terry. I can't believe it, but we're going to straighten it out right now, my friend. All right, gold. Look, it went from like $3,000 an ounce to almost $4,400 an ounce. It came back a little bit. It corrected it to $4,100, like I said. But why is this happening?
I think the big issue, Steve, is that within the confines of the country of China, people are looking for an escape mechanism for their money. The reality is the Chinese economy is not in good shape. They have a wide variety of issues. They have too much debt. If you think that the United States has devalued our own currency, you should take a look at what's going on in China. And so there's been this big push, I think, of Chinese citizens to just buy as much gold as they can. This is not, but I want to make this clear, this is not really as much as people think it is about the US dollar and this whole idea that people are fleeing fiat. I don't think that's the case at all. And I think people that expect that that's going to continue to be the case might be a little disappointed about where the price of gold goes here in the short to intermediate term.
What do you think is going to happen? Is it going to correct more? Because that's my guess at this point. It's going to correct more. But I'm guessing the floor is somewhere in the high threes. It's not at 3,000 anymore. It's in the higher threes. What do you think?
I agree with that, Steve. I do think that the parabolic run on a short-term basis is probably coming to an end. We'll see some kind of corrective measure, then some consolidation, and then maybe another push higher. But I think this crazy run is probably over.
Yeah, and the other metal that I keep looking at, and you certainly can't store this unless you have a warehouse, is copper, because we need so much copper to build out the AI world, right? You need so much copper for the power for the communications. And copper's done really well recently. I don't know what your thoughts are on copper and silver, but those are my takes as an observer. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they've also benefited from the dollar weakening a bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see the dollar strengthen here because the rest of the world is also engaging in monetary debasement. Ironically, the dollar's influence globally has actually gone up, not down. More than half the transactions that have taken place in the world have done so or been settled in US dollars. So you can't have it both ways, right? You can't have that everyone's running away from the dollar, but yet the transactions are going up and try to justify that that's why gold has gone up. I think it has more to do with China.
There you go. By the way, you sent me this note, and I looked at this. You're right, as you always are. Over half of all the global transactions have been settled in U.S. dollars in this calendar year, 2025, an actual increase in the use of the dollar, not a decrease. Pretty important thing to consider, isn't it?
Yeah, Steve, I'll let you in on a little secret. I think the big deal going forward, I know AI, energy, all that stuff's going to be really important. So I'm not going to minimize that. But I think quietly what's happening is we're going to go through this tokenization of everything. And virtually all transactions within some period of time are probably going to be settled on the blockchain. So these stable coins, not crypto, I'm not talking about running out and buying altcoins or any of that nonsense, but I'm talking about this idea that everything's going to be digitized and we're going to be using stable coins going forward. I think there's really something to this, and over time, that's going to be a big play.
All right, so Bitcoin had a big correction too, speaking about crypto. XRP, another one I watched, had a big correction. Ethereum's pretty consistent. It kind of stays kind of in a range that it's kind of locked into. But when you talk about these stable coins, which ones are you talking about? Give me just one example so I know what I'm talking about.
Well, these are going to be essentially new stable coins. I'm not sure who the winner is going to be, but the U.S. government and all governments are going to go to some form of stable coin. And so I don't have a dog in that fight. I can't tell you who the clear winner is going to be, but I will tell you, like, for example, with Ethereum, I mean, it makes sense that a lot of the financial transactions will get settled on Ethereum because of the smart contract element of it. Very different than Bitcoin. And I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in these areas,
right?
But I would also say that I don't think that in the end, Bitcoin is going to be the digital gold that everyone thinks it's going to be.
Right. You know, and I can't tell you who the winners are going to be, but I can tell you as people that try to short Bitcoin, They were losers in the last few weeks, that's for sure. They lost a boatload of money, a lot of folks did. All right, so the bull market, speaking of that, for people that are retired, the market's done very well in 2025. You think the bull market could continue, but you have a caveat to that as well. What is it?
Well, it's always the spooky days of the last couple weeks of October, right? And this could bleed into the early part of November. There's some geopolitical stuff that's hanging out there. I really don't think that the things with China are going to go sideways. I think China's backed into a corner and they have to make a deal. And I think the US knows this. So I think we're going to get a reasonable deal and China will be able to save face. But between now and then, there's certainly going to be some negotiating tactics.
Yeah, we're
And
going to
then you
find
saw
out.
overnight.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry?
overnight.
Oh, just that the sanctions were levied against Russian oil,
Right.
and that drove the price of a barrel of oil up a few bucks. And so there's going to be some volatility like that over the next few weeks.
Yeah, now Donald Trump and dictator Xi to meet in South Korea, I believe, on Halloween, last day of the month, and into the first part of November. We'll see what comes out of that. One of the things I've been watching, agricultural numbers, soybeans. American farmers, no soybeans sold to China in several weeks now, but the price is still higher and they're finding alternative markets, which I think is a good thing. They're selling to Japan. They're selling here at home for biodiesel. So there's some positives there too, right?
I think this is, you have to look at what Trump's trying to do through a little bit longer of a lens. I think the real benefits won't accrue to the U.S. substantially until next year and beyond. But I mean, $20 trillion worth of new deals to bring companies back into the U.S., that's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. So let him get reset on everything, and then you can start to concern yourself. The government shutdown, that's in the hands of the Democrats, so they can scream all they want, but they again voted against it again yesterday. 12 times now the Democrats have refused to open the government. John Fetterman out there saying he need to open the government and do the right thing is what he's saying. By the way, we'll see what happens. Terry, thank you for the input today. Greatly appreciate your insights. October, traditionally the worst month for the markets, but that goes all the way back to 1929. So maybe we're a little better shape this time around. Terry Sawchuk from Sawchuk Wealth, I appreciate you.
Good to see you, buddy, as always.
And if you're a patron and have $500,000 or $10 million and hold conservative values and beliefs in the America First agenda, Sawchuk Wealth. Terry there has built a wealth management system for you. The America First built to last blueprint based on 4 core principles: unexpected and welcome transparency, relentless cost reduction, disciplined and robust risk management. America First, the mission's simple, delivering so much value that you wonder if there's another system even available. Go to sawchuckwealth.com/Gruber. Schedule a free 30-minute call to see if you're a good fit. sawchuckwealth.com/Gruber. Get that free 30-minute call today. Get a second opinion. That's what I say. All right. I'll be back with a really important product. You really want to talk to me about this when we get back. Diving back into it now. It's another chilly morning because it's fall here in Michigan. It's 40 degrees out here at the home office. 40 degrees. I call that muskox weather. I do. My next guest has become a friend of mine over the years because, well, I give him credit. He had a lot of guts. He said, you know what? I'm going to make a clothing company in Detroit, Michigan. I'm going to make a clothing company in Detroit, Michigan. I thought, man, this guy's lost his mind. And then he came out with the greatest flannel shirts I've ever seen. Brad Who's here, founder of Muskox with me. Brad didn't lose his mind. He actually created a great product that has become the #1 favorite of Gear Junkie, of the Gruber Nation, and of a whole lot of other folks. Brad, nice to see you again.
Steve, good morning to you. Pleasure is all mine, my friend.
Well, you know, we started this journey together several years ago, but you only appear seasonally because your shirts are so warm you would bake somebody in the summer. But this is the time of year, 40 degrees outside right now. This is muskox weather. You made a shirt that is so heavy and so soft and so nice. It's not a shirt, it's an heirloom. So congratulations to you and your muskox team. You released some new ones this week. What's new at muskox?
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot going on. In fact, yeah, we have some breaking news here for the Gruber family is that we actually got a few additional shirts live late last night. So we officially have 10 new styles on our website that you can check out. So if you want to see the latest and greatest in the muskox world, you can check that out. So like you said, Steve, you know, we're really fortunate that we have been recognized by Gear Junkie as the best overall flannel for 23, 2024, and now 2025. So since we talked, that's something we're really proud of. And I hate that I have to say this, but since it is 2025, I have to say this: we did not pay for that. A lot of people can pay for rankings. This happened 100% or organically in terms of our recognition. But it's not about the awards. It's about helping everybody out there to get outside just a little bit more, and that's really what
and this is the weather. You know, we were chicken ranchers here. You throw on the muskox, you walk back to the chicken coop, you walk the dog, whatever it might be. You go for a walk with your wife, beautiful fall colors, you wear the muskox. Now, I heard you talking to Anthony here just before you came on. It is word of mouth because his girlfriend stole one of his muskox and said, I'll be keeping this. So that's what happens. You know, these are not shirts, like I say, they're family heirlooms. These are shirts that are so well built out of Detroit. And that's the other thing. It's like the spirit of Detroit for me. It's that grit, but it's a really soft shirt and it wears like iron. That's what's so cool about them.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I mean, yeah, I think that might have happened a little bit in the Gruber household too, but I'll let you speak to that. But yeah, we might need to think about putting a warning on our shirts, like warning your significant other may try to commandeer your muskox.
Yeah,
something
it's all
along
true.
those lines.
All right, so tell people about the product. Here's the important thing. Trying to make a shirt in America is a difficult thing to do. The company is headquartered in Detroit. The materials are in Portugal, all right? So it's not a Chinese-made garment, none of that stuff. You did the best you could. You're trying to see if you can bring some of that manufacturing onshore here. But look, textiles in America got wiped out over the last several decades. You're doing great work with the resources available, producing a great product. Tell them about the product.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, we're really focused on quality. So muskox flannels are built to last, like you said. They're really, a lot of people see them as a family heirloom. But what makes them that, right? So they're very dense. They have a dense weave, but they're still soft. So we had a customer review that's still to this day my favorite. It's a buttery soft and built like a tank. And that's really kind of how we pride ourselves. The cotton is all 100% double brushed. It's part of the Better Cotton program, which means it was grown sustainably as well. And there's a lot of details that you'll see in here. So for instance, there's a locker loop on the back. So some people wear their flannels as a jacket, and if you come inside and put them on a hook, you can do that. So there's really, great craftsmanship associated with this. So for instance, I'm wearing a navy flannel, if you can see, and if you were to zoom in on it, you can see it's actually a bicolor, meaning there's two different yarns that are in it, but it just adds a little bit of sophistication to the product. So they're not cheap, but they are built to last. Built to last a lifetime, and people have come to really appreciate the quality associated with our products, and that's something that we pride ourselves on, and we're really trying to continue to just get a little bit better every single day. And 6 years into this, it's treated us well to date.
Dense, durable heritage workwear. That's what it is, really. Oh, and the other thing that you do that I've always appreciated, for every shirt that people buy, man, you put money on the table for wildlife conservation in Alaska. I think it's a cool thing you do. Tell them about that.
Yeah, my dad taught me you speak loudest when you speak with your pocketbook. And so for us talking about the outdoors, we're named after muskox, which is a fantastic animal. We can talk about that. So we didn't want to just sort of talk about it. We wanted to live it. And so the one spot in the United States where there's muskox is the great state of Alaska. And so for every flannel purchase, we give $5 to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. And we've made a really meaningful impact over the years there. So they support not just muskox, but bison and wolves. I could go on and on. They do great work
Right.
out there. So when you wear a muskox, you feel good. You get outside, and you're doing good in terms of supporting American wildlife.
And guys, you've watched the program for a number of years, most of you. If I say it's a great product, it's a great product. I don't sit out here and endorse something I don't believe in and use myself. And Brad was right. Ivy stole a couple of muskox from me over the years. We kind of trade back and forth. It's a little big on her, but it's okay. It works out just fine. GoMuskox.com. You can save $15 with the promo code Gruber today. GoMuskox.com/Gruber. Save $15. They're not inexpensive, but they will last you a lifetime. You'll be really glad that you did this. And look, it's almost Christmas. Give yourself a gift. Give somebody else a gift that keeps on giving. Muskox. Brad Hoos, always appreciate seeing you, my friend.
It's been great chatting with you over all these years as things continue to evolve in this world we live in. So thank you to you and all of Gruber Nation.
There you have it. Brad Hoos. I give him credit. He had the guts to go out and make a company in Detroit and make the best shirts out there. Look, I wear them every day this time of the year. They're on the hook, just like he said, by the front door. I'll be right back. GoMuskox.com in case you missed it. I'll be right back. All right, for those of you that don't like the idea of this guy Bad Bunny doing the halftime show for the Super Bowl, well, the commissioner says too bad. They're not considering any changes to the Super Bowl halftime show with Bad Bunny, the fellow from Puerto Rico that sings all of his songs in Spanish and seems to hate America a bit. The NFL's going with it anyway. I don't know who picks these people. Doesn't matter to me. But that's where we are with it. And the NFL not considering dropping Bad Bunny as its Super Bowl halftime headline. Former Commissioner Roger Goodell said that yesterday, reaffirming the decision to put the Grammy-winning Puerto Rican artist on the league's biggest stage that led to criticism from Donald Trump and a whole lot of other folks. Turning Point USA will have an alternative halftime show, we're told. So that could take a bite out of the big NFL cash bucket, couldn't it? We'll see. I think that commercial rates are based in the end on actual viewership. It's really important. You'll have 100 million people seeing it, but if you have 10 million people slide over and watch Turning Point USA or whatever the number turns out to be, well then, the NFL takes a financial hit because of that. That's I'm sorry, but that is what happens. All right, speaking of being cold around here, if you want to save money on your utilities and warm your house, and you live in the northern United States and you have a well in your yard, well, good news. Well Connect Geo can help you save half on your heating costs this winter. It's not too late. And by the way, there are still government subsidies through the end of the year. But the big, beautiful bill put a kibosh on a bunch of those subsidies. So if you want to find out how to heat your home, save a pile of money on utilities, extend the life of your furnace and your air conditioner, Well Connect Geo, it's the hybrid geothermal system. It can do it for you. WellConnectGeo.com. Look, this is an American-made product right here in Michigan. We love these people. What they did is pure genius, turning your well water into an endless source of energy to heat and cool your home and save you a pile of money. WellConnectGeo.com. They're also looking for contractors, new ones all over the country. Montana, Minnesota, New York, wherever you might be. If you're in the northern United States and you have a contracting business, you want to put these in, you can do it. If you're a do-it-yourself person, you can do it yourself in about a day. All right? There you have it. WellConnectGeo.com. We've got a lot more to get to in the next hour. We'll have Mike Howell, the No Kings protests and the 50501 movement, and the foreign links. Where's the money coming from for No Kings? Oh, you won't be surprised. We'll talk about it. 2 more hours of the Steve Gruber Show straight ahead. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, welcome back to it. Glad we're diving into another big hour here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. It is a free speech. It's a free speech absolute zone here, as we talked about to start the program today. I'm glad you're here for it. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Let's get rolling. You ready? Here's number one. The new boss at CBS, Bari Weiss, travels with 6 armed guards wherever she goes. 6. A bit of a hoot for a left-leaning news personality, but hey, what would the world be without hypocrisy? Number two. So what really happened when a madman gunned down and murdered Democrats in Minnesota a few months ago? Well, the transcript of the 911 calls just released, raising more questions than answers. And number three, I'm kind of having fun with this last couple of days. Returning to the mixed bag of nuts. Mixed bag of nuts. Yeah, you know, you see all this stuff that shows up on the internet, right? I do. And you're like, what is this? Who are these people? Where do they live? Who taught them these things? I mean, it is instructive. And it is fun all at the same time. I honestly wonder how some of these people actually function in society. All right? How do they function in society? I wonder about that. But there are real dangers as well. We were talking about free speech to start the program today and how important it is and how it's under attack all over the world. In Germany, in Canada, in the UK. Well, in the UK, here's where our first soundbite comes from this hour. Here's a Muslim man, part of the minority. They're mostly imported. And they say they're not there to assimilate. They don't care about England. They don't care about the UK. They're not just ready to, rise up a little bit. They're ready to take over the entire country. How do I know? Because he says so. Listen.
The city of Birmingham will not tolerate the disrespect of our Prophet, peace be upon him, and there will be outcomes from your actions. You will have repercussions for your actions. We have been trained from birth that we must defend the honor of our Prophet, and we will lay our life on the line.
Okay, the other argument is, okay, so if you don't like it here, go to your own country.
But why would we do that when our forefathers were instrumental in rebuilding this country after World War II? It was our grandfathers who worked in the factories 20 hours. It was our grandfathers who came here and run the infrastructure. It was our grandfathers who bought you the lovely curry, which is your national dish. So how can you tell us to go? We're not going nowhere. We are here to stay. Like I say, we're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
We're not here to take part. We're here to take over. Their grandfathers worked in the factories. I guess those English people just sat on the couch. The arrogance is quite taking, isn't it? Quite breathtaking. And that's the attitude. And it's not just from the folks that are Muslim. It's the folks that are coming from different countries into the Western world from all over the globe, saying we don't want to assimilate. We want our country in your country. We want our country in your country. That's what they're doing here. It is frightening. And they don't believe in free speech or freedom of religion. They believe in their speech and their religion. If that doesn't get your attention, you're asleep at the wheel and I can't help you. At least I'm trying, though. Meanwhile, here at home, top Democrat Kathy Clark says it's okay. It's okay. If Americans suffer during the government shutdown, we're in day what, 22, 23? I've lost count, 22, 23, something like that. So Kathy Clark is part of the Democrat leadership, and she says it's perfectly fine if Americans suffer if it gives her party leverage. It's what she said. She said it out loud. Here she is.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
Families are going to suffer, but it's one of the few leverage times we have. So it's okay if American families suffer as long as her party has leverage. It's remarkable. Play that again.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. but it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
They take it so seriously that for the 12th time yesterday, the Democrats blocked opening the government so they can have leverage. They want to use food insecurity from the WIC program, from the SNAP program. They want to use food insecurity as an example so they can have political leverage. Look, Republicans have already said that they will extend the Obamacare subsidies. Obamacare is a complete failure, just like everybody said it would be, at least here we did. Said it would fail because it could not possibly succeed, and it hasn't succeeded, and it is failing. Republicans have already said, though, despite that they will extend the subsidies. Democrats don't have a plan. They hate Donald Trump. That's all they have. Leverage is what they're trying to get, leverage. It's revolting, isn't it? Oh, and here, how about this? One more from the bag of nuts. A public school teacher in Los Angeles, California, openly calling for violence against federal law enforcement officers. This is what's wrong. The Democrats call for violence daily, hourly. Go on social media, look at it. So here's a school teacher in LA saying we need violence against federal law enforcement. Listen.
Don't forget where you're standing. This is South Central Los Angeles. They are not the only ones with guns in this city.
Oh.
They're not the only ones, and don't forget that. And I don't say that because we're calling for violence. I'm saying that because the people have every right to defend themselves against masked, unidentified gunmen with AR-15s and other military rifles. The people have every right to defend themselves.
They're not the only ones with guns. We have the right to defend ourselves. Yep, people are going to get killed. They're enforcing the law, enforcing immigration laws. Even my Democrat friends that are lawyers say, you can't go down that road. You can't. And yet they do every day. People like that, a school teacher. What's he teaching the kids in class? Shoot police officers? Murder people because they're enforcing the laws? Is that what they're teaching? Sure does feel like it, doesn't it? Sure does feel like it. That's what they're doing, teaching people, it's okay to kill if you think you're right. Okay. People are going to get killed. People like that should be held accountable. That's what I'm saying. All right, so Ivy did a lot of study on this new company we've partnered with, Victory Nutrition International. So if you're struggling to kickstart your brain in the morning, bam, Brain Reward gives you your brain refreshing support with tyrosine, B-complex vitamins, and nutrients that help regulate stress and focus. Perfect for school, work, and creative project. Boost your mood, clarity, and motivation, all without caffeine jitters. Only from Victory Nutrition International, nutrition that gets in. Right now, you can get 20% off of this great vitamin company, American company. They only have 6 products. They don't have 100 things. They have 6, all studied, all scientifically reviewed like Brain Reward. Get 20% off right now at vni.life/Gruber. There's a QR code on your screen. You can click that too. vni.life/Gruber. The promo code Gruber. You'll save 20% now. You'll be glad you did. By the way, in advance, you're welcome. We'll be right back. Glad to have you along for the conversation, diving right back into all the conversations that matter most. The No Kings protest, they claimed 7 million people, but it was greatly exaggerated. I did a deep dive into it, by the way. The actual number more like 3.5 to 4 million people nationwide, but still a big protest, no matter how you slice it. The question is, how did that happen? Who's footing the bill? Mike Howell joins me, president of the Oversight Project, to kind of dissect this a little bit. Mike, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Always good to have you. All right, so look, the No Kings protests were greatly exaggerated in numbers. That doesn't surprise me. Organizers always exaggerate, no matter which side of the political aisle they're from, because they need the coverage, and therefore they inflate the numbers and say, hey, this is a big deal. But the real question to me is, who's footing the bill? Who's footing the bill, Mike?
Yeah, so the 3.5 million, I mean, I'd love to see that number, supported. I'd be shocked. I'm sure you look pretty hard at it. I've been saying it's probably a few 100,000 across the country. I don't even think it hit 1 million. But in terms of the bill, a lot of people assume these things cost a ton of money. They really don't. They're institutionally supported by, or the government. In some cases, the federal government, even here in D.C., who permitted a lot of these things. They give them permits. You have organizers with song sheets. But other than that, there's really not a lot of costs. There's costs to the cities that have to shut down for a day, but it doesn't cost much to organize these. And so in terms of the minimal bill, there's a few key organizers. You have the Indivisible movement that supports a lot of these other groups for their activities, not just on that day, but for, their year-longs, just undermining the United States activities. You have the 50-51 group, which is really behind the No Kings protest the first go-around, but is still one of their chief organizers. And all of these groups are downstream of the same money managers of the big left. George Soros, the Arabella Network, etc.
Yeah. All right. So how do they get the money to the folks? Now, I've seen places in the past where there'll be a spot on social media. Hey, come join us, and you can earn $50. That's right. I mean, I've seen that sort of thing. I haven't really dug into it, but we're going to. I've actually got some folks. I'm going to say, hey, go apply. See if you can get paid. People that obviously I can't do it. They'll know who I am. They'd know who you were, obviously, but some people can sneak in and say, okay, I want to get paid, and then we'll just rip back the cover. I mean, that's a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to go sing a bunch of creepy, weird, unhinged songs out in the street one day with a bunch of Looney Tunes on SSRIs who should be in a nursing home or baking cookies for their grandkids, this would be a terrible way to spend the day. You might learn something. What I think you'd learn is that these major organizations, which are institutionally supported by people like I named, a lot of the tech billionaires, Zuckerbergs, the Soroses of the world. You can read Seamus Brunner of the Government Accountability Institute. He's peeled back the curtain a little bit on the tech oligarchs that really are always connected to these same groups. But yeah, you can make minimum wage plus for a day or so to do that sort of stuff. But again, these aren't that expensive to pull off. The advertising budget for groups like Indivisible and those are something. And a lot of the support that comes from legacy media, free, by the way, and the mainstream, quote unquote, media, but then also the Democrat lawmakers that are promoting these things for free, too.
Sure. It's remarkable to me that you don't see more VW microbuses with peace signs painted on them at these get-togethers. That would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Here's my question. It's remarkable. How can you have a No Kings protest propelled by the party that lost the House, lost the Senate, lost the White House? So the minority party is screaming No Kings, but yet they're able to shut down the government, 12 votes no so far, and organize however many people turn out, whether it's 100,000 or 100 million, doesn't matter. But they're the minority party, and they're screaming about No Kings. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. How about you?
Yeah, it's a pharmaceutical issue mostly, plus big tech for the aging population. I'm dead serious, though. We talk a lot about the dangers of big tech and social media for young kids and in elementary schools and addiction to cell phones. It's probably a different and worse threat for the older types, the aging types. And it's primarily fueled by white women with mental issues and pharmaceutical issues that are really inconstant and steeped in this Facebook kind of drivel, a lot of MSNBC drivel, and they're, to their own sort of way, non-violently radicalized and very upset and unhinged. I see this every day in Washington, D.C. What I just said sounds funny, but it's really true. You can't look at this and really hear these people cursing, hear these people just being completely unhinged, and come to any other conclusion that This isn't political; it's pharmaceutical, and this country's got a major problem in that regard. And they found a home in the just crazy rhetoric of the Democrat Party. Looking for meaning in it, you're not going to find it.
No deeper meaning, just people that just. I think you're right. By the way, I mean, X has changed its algorithm. A lot of people talking about this right now. My feed is flooded with people, radical leftists. I don't know why, but hey, for me, it's fine. I follow a number of these people so I can keep up with what they're doing. But it is insanity on the internet is what it is. And they're just gobbling this stuff up. They need oversight. There needs to be an intervention, Mike, potentially. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I check in on your parents if you know you got older parents. Check in on your grandparents. They should be with their grandkids, not just having mental breakdowns in the street. And that's what No King usually looks like. Well situated adults that are mentally well and have good family lives. Do not have a costume party and go shriek in the streets over whatever the crazy slogans are. These people are not well, and it's unfortunate.
A costume party. And not a good costume party at that. I'll give you that. Mike Howell, president of the Oversight Project. How do people find your website?
Yeah, we're at itsyourgov.org or on X at itsyourgov.
It's your gov. It's ours. And we believe in free speech, so we're all for it because we wouldn't know how insane they were if they didn't put it on full display, Mike. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. A costume party. It's a pharmaceutical issue. What do you think of that? Drop me an email. Go to stevegruber.com. Drop me an email. Tell me what you think. I don't think he's too far off the mark there. I got to be honest with you. Not too far off the mark at all. It's good to have you here. We're almost to Free for All Friday, where we take your phone calls. That happens every Friday here in the program. Don't miss it. Free Speech, Free for All Friday, where you get to call in on the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline and talk to me about whatever's on your mind, no matter where you live here in the country. It's happening tomorrow. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, back to it now. Donald Trump is rebuilding the East Wing of the White House with a 90,000 square foot ballroom. It's going to be magnificent. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, Esquire Bob, I was talking to last night on the phone. And he said, we need that sort of thing. Well, what's the big deal? He goes, I might not like Donald Trump on a number of things. And he doesn't. He says, but I have no worries about Donald Trump building a ballroom. Donald Trump could build things. And he said, what would people, this is from a Democrat, what would people have said if Barack Obama had come in? By the way, Barack Obama tore down part of the East Wing to put in an enclosed tennis court, right? What would people have said back then if Barack Obama said, look, I want a ballroom and we're going to hire Donald Trump to build it? Who would have said anything back in 2010 or 11? Nobody. Nobody would have thrown a fit over that. But they want to fight Donald Trump on anything and everything, so this is where we end up, right? Is with this histrionic nonsense. And histrionic is the only way that I can really look at it. I mean, it's insane. All right, so wake up stronger. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you woke up feeling really good? I did today. That's why I use Longevity Wellness. The nutritional shake is built with protein, collagen, omega-3s, even bovine colostrum to support your gut, joints, your brain. No gimmicks, just clean, science-backed ingredients that help you feel stronger every single day. Look, if you're on one of those GLP-1s and you're worried about losing muscle density or bone density, this is why you take Longevity. My son uses it before and after football practice. He loves it. Like a chocolate shake. They got chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. It's great. It is scientific nutrition. QR codes on your screen for all of our products now and all of our partners. Look, we need these partners because there are groups out there trying to shut us down every day and strangle us financially. Support the people that support these programs like this. LongevityWellness.co/Gruber, one of those great companies. LongevityWellness.co/Gruber. You'll save a little bit of money, 10% in fact. And you're going to love this. If you're on a GLP-1 or if you've got folks that are older in your life, it's been used in senior care centers for years now. It's distributed by Cisco Systems, right? Cisco, you've seen them out there. But now it's available to you. LongevityWellness.co/Gruber. I'll be right back. Continuing the conversation now, if you listen to the left on social media and elsewhere, you would have the belief that China not buying our soybeans, which they're not, by the way, would be the destruction of the American farm. Is that true? Is that not true? I wanted to bring on somebody who knew. Leslie Rutledge is joining me. She is the Lieutenant Governor for the state of Arkansas, and she's a soybean farmer, among other things. Leslie, nice to see you today.
Well, thank you, Steve, for having me on. Yes, my husband and I are proud row crop soybean farmers, and we're encouraged by President Trump standing up for the American farmer.
Yeah.
We've been held hostage. The soybean industry has essentially been held hostage by China being such a big customer of ours. And we do want to continue to sell our soybeans to China, but we also know that the American farmer is resilient and that we've got to find other revenue streams.
My research has found that China, yes, the biggest single customer when they do it, they're buying out of South America now, but we've opened up other markets. We've got other opportunities. In fact, the 52-week low for soybean prices was at the end of last year when Joe Biden was still in office. So we're not at the end of the American farmer as the left would have you believe, but there is work to be done, isn't there?
Well, there is. And yes, many of the problems that we have right now, why farmers are struggling this year, are because of the bad policies of the Biden administration. These problems didn't start in January of 2025 when President Trump was inaugurated for a second time. These problems have been building up over the last several years under Biden administration. We've had high cost for farmers, commodity prices are down, and this year we've had weather. And while I wish an American president could control the weather, I wish my husband and I could control the weather. We can't. But what China has done, and this is being lost on so many of those who just really want to blame Donald Trump for everything that goes wrong in their lives. But China has been putting millions, if not billions, of infrastructure in South America, particularly in Brazil, to build roads, bridges, to clear cut those forests in Brazil to make room for Brazil to plant more soybeans and more crops. So over the last decade and a half, China has been investing heavily to eliminate the need to even buy soybeans from the United States of America. They have such a large population that they realize that they need to be able to feed that population. But America's got to do what we have to do.
Absolutely true, Leslie, and you make a great point, which is we are too beholden to China on too many levels in too many places for too many products. We need to cut the cord. And we talked about this just before you came on. There are other markets, Japan, biodiesel. There are other alternatives to selling all of our beans to China. In fact, right now we're selling nothing to China. The price is holding. The farmers could use some relief. I get that. We'll see what happens with President Trump and President Xi in South Korea at the end of the month. But there are other alternatives that we need to go after, aren't there?
There are, and that's why biodiesel is a real option, just as it was for corn and our corn farmers. When our corn farmers needed a new market, then we upped the ethanol, and corn and ethanol go hand in hand now. 1/3 of America's corn crop goes toward ethanol. And so what we need to do, and one thing that I've been talking about recently and put forward to our friends at the USDA and Secretary Rollins and hopefully to President Trump, is that we can be making more biodiesel, crushing more soybeans, putting the investments in infrastructure to crush more soybeans, to have those plants, and to give tax credit, tax incentives, up the blending amount. It will also extend the life of our refineries. We've not built a new refinery in America in over 50 years.
That's right.
The liberal left is not going to allow us, so to speak, to do that. And so we've got to find a way to extend the life of that.
But I guess they apparently don't mind that Caterpillar D9s are bulldozing forests in Brazil. They're good with that, but not with anything we do in America. That's for a different day. Please explain to those people listening right now what biodiesel is, where it gets used, and why it can be critical to America's future.
Well, biodiesel is something that we use from other oils, and we could again be using soybean oil to put into biodiesel to enhance our petroleum products, to extend the life. We could even use biodiesel in equipment, in airplanes, tractors, you name it. And so this is just something that again adds to and eliminates the need to use so much of our petroleum as we have over the last several decades. It only enhances it. It's something readily available, and it's environmentally friendly. I think that's what most people miss also, is that the level that soybeans on their own are, they take in and they through the photosynthesis, if you will. My husband would probably explain this better. It might take him longer, but we want people to understand that this is an environmentally friendly product to be putting in versus the others.
Well, let me ask you this, because this has been a big argument. Is biodiesel more environmentally friendly than, say, developing EVs with all of that, technology and heavy metals and so forth? What's friendlier? One of those batteries in an EV or your soybeans?
Well, I'm going to argue that the soybeans are, because they actually uh, they take the bad elements out of the air. I'm going to try to
Yep.
break this down as if I'm talking to a 7-year-old. They take the bad elements out of the air, and they go off their own solar power, and so you are essentially have millions of acres of solar power across America in soybean
Right.
fields, and you're taking the bad elements out of the air, putting it into a product that you can then use to replace products that are not as environmentally friendly.
Yeah, you're converting that sunshine to energy just in a different way with a different middleman, the middleman being the beans. All right, so that plus markets in places like Japan and elsewhere, this could get us away from the dependence on China, couldn't it?
Exactly, and that's what we want, to become more energy independent. We want to uh, be able to provide more energy here in America, to save our American farmers, to give them an outlet to be able to sell their beans, as well as not become rely so heavily on China to not only buy our soybeans, but I go back to this used cooking oil. Used cooking oil is not, when you think of canola or something, that this is, they are essentially, China is buying from Indonesia and other places, Argentina places, to their oils. They're turning it into used cooking oil, and then we are actually buying it from China. In
Really?
2022, we were exporting 400 million metric tons of used cooking oil. Now, after a few years of Joe Biden's administration, we are importing
Used cooking
1.2,
oil. Yeah.
yes, 1.2 billion. We went from exporting 400 million metric tons to importing 1.2 billion metric tons, 58% of which is coming from China. So we are basically padding the pockets of the Chinese Communist Party
Sure.
rather than using our own American grown soybeans for the same purpose. So that's
Yeah.
why we've got to we're crushing, we've got to build the infrastructure. We already have crushing plants, we already have biodiesel plants, but we need to have more of it to, again, energy independence, less reliance on communist China, and helping out the American farmer. It's a
Yeah.
win-win. It's environmentally friendly. I think we need to get it done.
That's why President Trump is resetting the global trade agenda on all these items, including agricultural goods. It's important for America and America's future. Leslie Rutledge, she is the Lieutenant Governor of Arkansas and a soybean farmer. Really appreciate you explaining this to the folks here. It's an important conversation to have because the American farmers are the backbone of this country. Leslie, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
So there you
Steve.
have it. New markets, biodiesel. Biodiesel that can power vehicles, can power boats and 18-wheelers, and keep the energy here. I think it's a great conversation to have. I'm glad we had it here today. You can find out more at stevegruber.com every single day. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, let's dive back into it, shall we? My next guest was one of those people that exploded on the national stage as a conservative a number of years ago. Rose up and was heard by lots of folks because he was a young conservative. C.J. Pearson joined me. He's the host of Family Matters. It's a podcast at the C.J. Pearson. You can find him. He's a political advisor. Top 100 by Time Magazine. For me, a guy that people listen to, especially young people. C.J., welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to hear from you.
So let's talk about where we are in the conservative movement in 2025. You know, to listen to the left, the whole world's burning down around us. It doesn't seem that way to me. It seems that, you know, securing our border, trying to bring law and order back to cities like Washington, D.C. By the way, there have been 16 homicides since August the 11th. It's almost the end of October. That would be less than 80 homicides in D.C. It's not been that low in my lifetime or yours, obviously. Certain things are working and working well. What are your thoughts about where we are today?
You know, if you let the left tell it, you know, they're the chicken littles of the day, right? You know, the sky is always falling. But what I'll tell you is that under President Trump's leadership, we've seen, you know, an incredible, remarkable turnaround in this country. We're seeing things like our border laws actually being enforced. We're seeing things like, you know, America, you know, economic dominance actually being resurrected. We're also seeing an end to many of the forever wars that President Trump pledged to end when he was running for president. You know, blessed are the peacemakers, and President Trump has become the peace president. You know, no other president would have been able to do what he was able to do when it came to Hamas and Israel. But he was able to do it because our enemies fear us and our allies trust us and they respect us. And so he's able to deliver for us. And so God bless him for it. The left won't give him credit for it, but we should.
I give you credit, CJ, because I think maybe the boldest, the most courageous people in politics today are black conservatives like yourself, especially young black conservatives. You know, I see these old white people yelling at black people who have MAGA hats on at the No Kings marches, for example, screaming at them that they're somehow, you know, debasing themselves or that they're just, you know, hating themselves. It's just ridiculous. And it's vile, a lot of it, isn't it?
No, you're right. It's absolutely insane. And what's funny about all of that is that I'm old enough to remember, you know, I've been in the conservative movement since I was 12 years old. Oftentimes I would be told by those on the left that I'm a member of the party of old white guys. But I look at those rallies, those No King rallies that happened last weekend, and I say, oh, the roles must have reversed. Because all I see is old white liberals at these rallies who are probably reliving their hippie days and on their second tour of duty now being paid to protest against this president. So I got to say, you know, we look at the trends, not only in this past election, but we see what's happening now. Young black folks coming over to the right, young people overall coming to the right. We are the party that's actually looking like America right now. And we're not just diverse because it's forced diversity or we have some artificial quota. We're diverse because people are just naturally making their way to the party of Lincoln, the party of emancipation, the party of freedom, the party of liberty. Like, that is what actually energizes me and makes me so excited because we don't have to force diversity like the left does. You know, Joe Biden had to say, I'm going to choose a black woman vice president. I'm going to put a black woman on the Supreme Court. And that's artificial. And I got to tell you, as someone who is black, I don't want an asterisk next to any single accomplishment that I ever make. And unfortunately, many of the people that Joe Biden's put in place have brought that about.
Yeah, let's talk about the American cities. I don't think you make America great again without Washington, D.C., without Chicago or Los Angeles or the rest. And yet people like Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago would have you believe that somehow Trump coming in and trying to stem the violence. They've had 2,000 people shot in Chicago this year, CJ, 2,000. And they want to keep the status quo. And you know who pays the price for that? A lot of people in the inner city, a lot of black people, a lot of poor white people, a lot of Hispanics, people that can afford it the least, pay the highest price, and they think it's okay and tell you that somehow bringing in the National Guard to return law and order to cities like Chicago is somehow tyrannical. What do you say to that?
You know, the thing about that is that if you actually go into these black communities in Chicago and Memphis, they're saying, thank God that President Trump is acting and that he's sitting in the National Guard. And so, you know, you look at the pearl clutching from white liberals online, you look at the, you know, terrible leadership from Brandon Johnson, who has a almost near single digit approval rating. I'm gonna say near single digit because I think it may be 12%. So I'm gonna give them some credit here, right? But these people are disconnected from the reality that's actually on the ground. And because here's the deal, public safety and feeling safe in your community is not a white or black issue. Everyone wants to feel safe in their community. Everyone wants to feel as if they can go and allow their children to go to the playground and not come back home with a bullet in their head.
Yeah.
And so I think many people in the black community are saying, thank you, President Trump, for doing this, even if those in the mainstream media and in the professional political class on the left are not giving him credit for it.
Also, the ones that are most disproportionately hurt financially because illegal aliens come into the country are these same groups of people that are at the lower end of the income scale who get pushed out of possible jobs because of illegal aliens that are willing to do it for next to nothing. Also a problem. Speak on that, would you?
No, you're exactly right. And we see that actually in, I recently covered on my podcast, Family Matters, that we have covered people going to Chicago City Council meetings, all black, saying, stop diverting resources from our community to illegal aliens. Like, people waking up to this nonsense, and people are tired of it. And it's good to see so many people taking a stand against it.
I greatly appreciate you being here. CJ, it's been a while since we talked. We should do it more often for sure. You've got a great voice out there. Family Matters is the podcast you want to listen to with CJ Pearson, a young voice of common sense out there in a wilderness of angry old white people, apparently. CJ, thank you for being here.
Thank you. God bless you.
There you have it. All right. CJ Pearson, everybody. Yeah, he came out, like he said, when he was 12 years old. And a lot of people say, well, he's a fraud. No, it doesn't seem so. Been around for a number of years now, speaking truth about America, conservatives, and telling you the truth about who gathers at these No King protests, for example. Angry old white folks in their second appearance, however we put it. Glad you're here for the program. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media platforms. We appreciate it when you do. Support the people that support this program. We really appreciate it when you do that. It's the Steve Gruber Show, back with sports and Brock Paul Bush in a moment. All right, let's check in on sports now with my good friend and colleague, Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. It was a busy night in the NBA last night. 12 games on the schedule. Winners included New York, Orlando, Memphis, and Utah. In the NHL, not as busy. Only 3 games. New Jersey beat Minnesota 4-1. Buffalo knocked off Detroit 4-2, and Montreal beat Calgary in overtime 2-1. In Major League Baseball, the Los Angeles Angels named former Major League catcher Kurt Suzuki as their new manager yesterday. It's Suzuki's first managerial job at any level. And the San Francisco Giants named University of Tennessee head coach Tony Vitello as their new manager. Vitello is now the first college coach to go straight to the majors as a field manager from college. And in college football, there were 2 games last night. Delaware beat Middle Tennessee State 31-28, and Missouri State beat New Mexico State in overtime 24-17. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Well, the next story here, I was going to ask Ivy about this because, well, she lived in Florida for a number of years and was around this. I don't know if these things live in Florida. Sea cucumbers. Sea cucumbers, right? Well, apparently in Oregon right now, there are literally thousands of them. Literally across the beach. They're little gooey little things that live in the sand, but they've washed ashore covering 2 miles of the beach. Sea cucumbers, and nobody knows quite why. There's thousands of them out there. Kind of a unsettling little thing. They get their name from the cucumber-shaped bodies use clusters of tiny tentacle-like tube feet to crawl along the ocean floor and capture food, according to the National Wildlife Federation, but there are thousands of them scattered across the beach. Eugh. Eugh. I don't want to step on a sea cucumber and have a squish between my toes. No. Anyhow, don't know why. The birds are probably happy about it, though. Look, it's a buffet. Here come the seagulls gobbling them up. That would be my guess. All right, coming up in the next hour, of course, Ivy will be here, as she always is. We're going to have Maha Action on. And Riley Linting, the youngest member of the State House, will join us as well. We got a big hour straight ahead here on the Steve Gruber Show. You don't want to miss it, ever, ever. I'll be right back. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, it is as we kick off another hot hour here at the Steve Gruber Show, lighting the fuse to explode on the stage. Here it is, fighting for you for the foxhole of freedom every single day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, a ski resort in northern Michigan hoping to use dope marijuana revenue to boost winter slopes and revenue. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Number two, an illegal alien trucker accused in a fatal California crash released by the Biden administration after a 2022 border crossing. Well, he got drunk, drove his 18-wheeler into a crowd of other vehicles, killed a bunch of people. How's that make you feel? And number three, fuel for a comeback. Palisades nuclear plant is moving closer to a restart. First time in American history. First time in American history that a nuclear power plant that has been taken offline and mothballed is resurrected. Why? Because shutting down power plants is frankly stupid. We need more power, not less. It's the AI revolution. The world's changing. We need lots of power to mine for crypto, to put together AI, to run your computers, to run your home, to run your life. Now, Optimus, the robot we're all going to have here in 5 years, when you have Optimus around, you're going to need more power. A one-shutter nuclear plant on Lake Michigan shoreline took a major step toward making U.S. energy history. The Palisades nuclear power plant, now owned by Holtec, received 68 assemblies of new nuclear fuel this week. They're ready to go, baby. Moving one step closer to becoming the first American plant ever to come back from decommissioning. The domestically sourced fuel, and that's important, the fuel came from America, supplied by a longtime partner manufacturer, being stored in the spent fuel pool building until it's ready to be loaded into the reactor core. Holtec says crews are restoring key systems, including the main turbine generator and primary coolant pump, as the plant transitions from maintenance to power generation. It's a big deal. The Palisades facility shut down May of 2022 after more than 4 decades of service, reached a major milestone in July 2024 when the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission approved its reauthorization package. Why? Because the governor Whitmer realized what a disastrous decision that was. And it was, so it's coming back online. Now, I want to jump back into the time machine for just a moment. Back in 2010, there was a major renovation, a couple of them during the Obama administration, but one of them happened right out front of the White House. They tore everything out. They did major renovations in front of the White House, and the media cheered. Unlike what's happening now, where they say tearing down the East Wing to put on a ballroom, or part of the East Wing, not even the whole thing, it's just part of the East Wing coming down to put on a giant ballroom for the White House, is somehow destroying American history. It's a crime. Donald Trump's a bad person, blah, blah, blah. Here's what they said in 2010. Here's a reminder.
Sounds like they're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
Oh. $376 million in 2010, adjusted for inflation, is probably $400 or $500 million in today's dollars. What's the ballroom at the White House costing the American taxpayer? $0. Oh, and Barack Obama also got rid of the tennis courts at the White House, turned it into a covered basketball court. Tens of millions to do that as well. Who complained from the left-wing media then? As I recall, nobody. Nobody complained. Of course they didn't. But now that Donald Trump does it, whoa, it's a terrible thing, destroying American history, blah, 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 blah. Stop it, you old windbags. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourselves, and it's too much. It's too much. You look like old idiots. Let's see here. Speaking of politics in New Jersey, Jack Ciattarelli running for governor. He barely lost the last time around. barely lost the run for governor last time. Now he's in the race in New Jersey. Looks like he could win this thing. Wouldn't that be something? The election just days away now. Here's what's being said. Listen.
Barack Obama is coming out for Mikey Sherrill. That'll be the final weekend of the campaign on November the 1st. She's clearly bringing out the big guns. What do you make of that?
What it tells me is that they're struggling here in New Jersey. I've been here today with Jack. This is the third stop today. I got to tell you, the energy is off the charts everywhere that we've been. And so if she's got to bring in the former president, what that means is she's in trouble. But she's going to find out, just like Kamala Harris found out, that if you bring them in, it doesn't matter. You're still going to lose because she doesn't have the solutions that the people of New Jersey need.
Yeah, she doesn't have the solutions the people of New Jersey need. I believe that's true. Byron Donald's there speaking for Jack Chitterelli. It's a big deal. I was just talking about AI. I want to go back to something here because I was talking about AI, all the power it takes, and the Palisades nuclear plant being a cornerstone for part of that. Elon Musk says soon your phone will be universal. All the phone companies will be gone because he will have control over everything, and everything will work from satellites, and the phone companies will be obsolete. And anywhere you go on the planet, anywhere, you'll be able to have connectivity and video accessibility and all that. Listen to what he says.
It will allow SpaceX to deliver high bandwidth connectivity directly from the satellites to the phones. But there are hardware changes that need to happen in the phone. So since these frequencies are not supported in current phones, the chipset has to be modified to add these frequencies. And that probably is a 2-year time frame. So the phones that are able to use the spectrum that was acquired probably start shipping in around 2 years. And then we also need to build the satellites that are going to communicate on those frequencies. So in parallel, we're building the satellites and working with the handset makers to add these frequencies to the phones. And then the satellites and the phones will then handshake very well to achieve high bandwidth connectivity. But the net effect is that you should be able to watch videos anywhere on your phone.
And when he says anywhere, he means anywhere. Middle of the ocean, top of a mountain, doesn't matter. You'll have connectivity. You're going to be connected to the whole world. X will continue to be the #1 source of news, both real and fake. He'll have SpaceX. He'll have Starlink. He'll have Optimus. My personal assistant Optimus will be running around. Yeah, all of that. I wonder if I can get him in, custom colors. I don't want just a white Optimus. I just want, a nice suit or something. Yes, Mr. Gruber, how may I help you today? Anthony, won't that be great? Optimus will be your buddy here in the office.
No.
What?
I don't want it.
Okay, fine. Anyhow, whether he wants it or not, that's what's happening. Let's see. Coming up, we've got Maha Action. Heavily processed foods. Poison. Poison is what many people say. Do you agree? We'll talk about it straight ahead on The Steve Gruber Show. We talk about health on this program a lot. Bobby Kennedy's been our guest here a number of times talking about health in America. He's obviously the epicenter of Make America Healthy Again, right? And my next guest is from Maha Action. Sayer G is here with me. Sayer, nice to have you on the program.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We talk a lot about these sorts of things and highly processed food that doesn't even look like, and I talk about this. A grocery store has real food on the outside walls. You have the bakery, the butcher, you've got the fresh vegetables, you've got the dairy products. But when you go to the interior of a supermarket, you have food-like products. They look like food, they smell like food, but they're really not food. They're highly processed. I think it's garbage, most of it. What do you say?
You nailed it. I mean, most of that food-like substance is really just an industrial byproduct of essentially petrochemical derived ingredients from the farming of, sort of the agricultural model to use synthetic fertilizers all the way up to, what's on your plate. And, the thing, Steve, about this situation is that it's not just a food issue. It's really about freedom and the freedom to basically take control of your health destiny. We are what we eat. And when we're eating junk and chemical laden food like stuff, it actually makes us sick. And that's the main reason why MAHA is really a massive bipartisan movement in this country today.
So how did we get here? You say petrochemical derived products. That's just frightening. When you look at the ingredients, and these are, let's say they're crackers. Crackers should be an easy thing. Should be yeast, water, salt, and flour. That should be what's in a cracker. Maybe not yeast because it doesn't need to rise. But you look at this, it's like War and Peace. And I can't describe or pronounce most of the things on the list, things that you shouldn't eat, you should never ingest for any reason. How did we get here?
It's a great point. You need a degree in chemistry to even decipher a label these days. You go to Europe and they have far higher standards as far as protecting the public. And sometimes there's 2 ingredients versus 30 for the same product. So it's been engineered, and it's been engineered to the level of the palate where many addictive compounds are put into the foods in order to get people to eat more of them, even though they're getting sick. So it's really decades long capture by policy, sort of think tanks and, regulatory capture in DC that has really, I think, led to this crisis, because at this point, the majority of Americans are on a medication for a chronic disease, and that's a real problem.
You make a great point here, Sayer. And, if you go to Italy, for example, they eat a lot of bread and drink a fair amount of wine. God bless them for that. But here in America, there's don't eat the bread. Yeah, if you want to lose weight, don't eat bread. Well, bread, like I said, should have 4 ingredients. I buy bread at a place called the Breadsmith. 4 ingredients: water, salt, yeast, and flour. That's it. And if they put in some fruit or whatever, that's it. You look at bread on the shelf that stays there for a month and it's still soft and it doesn't have any mold on it. Well, that's not really bread, is it?
No. In fact, food is actually information. We know it contains genetically important ingredients for our cells and our genome. And when you alter that food, you're actually changing the very nature of our physiology. So I think people are waking up to that now. They're realizing that, most chronic diseases, from cancer to arthritis, they're not caused by a lack of a medication. It's usually something as simple as they're eating foods that don't follow an ancestral template, the way granddad and grandma used to make their bread, for example. That's what we're really talking about here as far as MAHA really being a common sense approach to not only getting healthier, but to feeling better. People just want to feel healthy again. They want to feel well. And this is what this movement is about.
Yeah, that's what it's about. We want to feel well. We want to make sure, speaking of Bobby Kennedy, I did a 2-hour live television program with him last fall. And he said he thought he had an allergy to wheat. He thought he had that problem. And then he started getting his flour from Italy, and suddenly he didn't have that problem anymore. He didn't have those issues because it was flour again. The things that we put into our food is unbelievable. The amount of arsenic in white rice, an easy example. It's frightening, isn't it?
It is. In fact, here in the U.S., they use glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, as a pre-harvest desiccant for wheat. So it's just shot through with this toxic compound that unfortunately is causing a lot of endocrine disruption, overweight, obesity, when it's not the wheat itself. So many people think they have wheat allergy, but they go to Europe, like you said, and they're just fine. So that's a great example of where a simple change in the way that we, do our food here in this country would have massive implications for the health and well-being of our citizens.
Yeah. Why did doctors not know more about nutrition? I mean, they're taught all sorts of things from the pharmaceutical industry. Why doesn't American agriculture get involved with doctors and say, listen, here's a prescription for health, eat better? Shouldn't we do that? I'll give you the last word.
Absolutely. In fact, the farmers of this country are our heroes, and they are the ones who've been providing the sustenance for our great nation. And so people are starting to wake up to that fact that we need to get the farmers in our classrooms. We need to get, those who have been producing our food and preparing it to be perceived at the same level of value as our doctors, because working together, we can really make this country healthy and great again. And that's really what this movement is all about.
Sayer G, greatly appreciate you being here today. He is with MAHA Action. It's a national movement dedicated to reversing the chronic disease epidemic and driving meaningful reform in U.S. public health policy when it comes to what we eat. I appreciate everything you guys do. You can go find out more yourself right now at MAHA Action. Sayer, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Terrifically. I really appreciate it. Ivy has said this from the day I met her. We need to eat better in this country. We eat well here. We prep cook every Sunday. We do. We prep cook every Sunday so we know what we have for the week. I mean, because you go to a restaurant, you don't know what you're getting, right? And you feel kind of loggy when you leave it. I don't feel that way when I eat at home. We use real ingredients. We plan ahead, and we're healthier because of it. We need more of that in this country. We do. I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so here's something that's going to be contentious. We're talking about food here, of course. For the last little bit here with Sayer G. I shop at God's grocery store. I always have. It's a family tradition. We fish in Michigan's lakes. I fish all over the world, actually. It's hunting season now. Free-range organic red meat. It's what's for dinner. We call it venison. You can call it a white-tailed deer, however you look at that. Free-range organic red meat. No antibiotics, no growth hormones, no garbage, except for the corn and the wheat that they eat that's probably genetically modified, but not much to get, not easy to get around that. But here's the argument in the State House in Michigan right now. The Senate has passed a $20 million license fee increase. It would mean that combo licenses for hunting would go from $75 to $100. Out-of-state visitors would pay $355. That's not out of line, by the way. Out-of-state hunters would pay more. Let me tell you something. If we followed the example set by the state of Ohio, where you can shoot one buck, this is not going to be popular with some of you, and that's okay. Ohio is a one-buck state. How many people do you know that go to Ohio to hunt trophy deer? You know how much tourism they have and how much money they generate from out-of-state licenses because people hunt from places like Michigan and all over to go to Ohio to kill big deer. We have a lot of big deer in Michigan right now. kid not too far from here shot a 19-point buck a week ago yesterday. 19 points. Big deer. If we made it a $1 state and raised the ticket number on people coming from out of state to kill big deer, you'd generate money that way. I don't think this is popular. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I see a lot of people online really angry that licensing fees would go up. House Republican leaders like Matt Hall say it's never going to happen as long as I'm Speaker. Matt Hall says, thumbs down to raising the rates. Now, I think there's other things you could do. You could also follow Ohio when it comes to urban hunting areas. Get a special tag, bow hunt, some of the feral areas of the city of Detroit, for example. Big deer live there. Let the bow hunters in. Charge them extra. Let bow season go through the end of January like they do in Ohio. You know, I might not like Ohio on a few things like football Saturdays once a year, but I like what they do with their whitetail hunting rules and regulations. We should do the same. I'll be right back. All right, the youth voice and youth vote in America is getting louder. In fact, my next guest worked with Turning Point USA as part of Turning Point Action. And then she got elected to represent State House District 27 in Michigan. Riley Linting is joining me. She's a Republican from Grosse Ile. Riley, nice to see you today.
Nice to see you, Steve. Thanks for having me on this morning.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, you are the youngest member of the House. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm 23 years old.
23 years old and already active in politics and did a lot of work with Turning Point USA, which obviously, in the wake of all that's happened in the last few weeks, has grown much bigger and much stronger. Terrible price to pay, but at least there's a lot of benefit coming out of it. Let's talk about your plan to stop people from running from law enforcement. It's a plan you put forward to protect downriver communities. Tell me what this is about.
Absolutely. So this creates mandatory minimum sentencing guidelines for people who run from the police. And so this is something that I've been working very closely with my local police chief in Wyandotte on for several months now. But he's been sounding the alarm on this for years without getting really the recognition or attention that he deserves. Downriver, Wayne County, and especially just Southeast Michigan in general, we're seeing an uptick in cases where people recklessly fleeing from the police is resulting in innocent lives lost. People are getting caught up in the crossfire, and it's resulting in the death of innocent people who are using our roads. And so this is something that should be taken seriously. People are fleeing from the police for a reason. And so this is just something that will hopefully prevent this from getting worse going forward. And I was really happy to lead the charge on this.
So fleeing and eluding has always been a crime, right? Resisting arrest, fleeing and eluding, these are all kind of sister crimes, if you will. They've always been on the books. Why are they not being enforced properly, or why are they not strong enough in your estimation?
Yeah, well, right now, what it is it's currently a felony. But when people are fleeing from the police, typically they're running from a crime that will land them more time than the act of fleeing. And what we're noticing is there are a lot of plea deals happening. So people will run from the police, they'll get it plead down, and they will be out on the streets. And for example, we saw just in this past July in Macomb County, there was a 24-year-old man who was driving DoorDash to support his family when he was struck by a stolen vehicle, and it took his life. We've also seen cases that I've talked to my police chief about where it's the same repeat offenders that keep running from law enforcement that are then let go. They're given a slap on the wrist and eventually commit very violent crimes. In one case, someone was a repeat fleer. They would continue to run from the police and then eventually ended up shooting someone and taking their life in that way. And so it's just something that needs to be taken more seriously. And right now, the people fleeing know that they will get a slap on the wrist for this. So they're calculating kind of the risk and reward of fleeing, and they're deciding, I'd rather take my chances and run than get caught doing what I'm doing. And they also know, I mean, this is a bigger problem than just creating stricter penalties for it. Across the state, there are a lot of no pursuit policies. And so a lot of criminals know they won't even be chased. So this will make them think twice. Am I entering a community that allows a chase? Because if they catch me, there will be consequences for my actions.
And let's give a shout out to that Wyandotte Police Chief, Archie Hamilton. He's the man that you've referenced here a couple of times. Chief Hamilton is the guy who said, look, we need to really show these folks if they do these things, there's going to be a penalty, a real penalty, not a slap on the wrist, not a plea deal, not a, gosh, I'm sorry, I won't do it again, and then they do it again, of course. And of course, the DoorDash people, the others that have paid with their lives, that's terrible. But Archie Hamilton really is the impetus behind this, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is. I met with him shortly after getting elected to just see how I could support his department, make my community safer. And it was really interesting. He's like, I've been trying to get someone to help me with this for years and years. And so I was very happy to be able to get to Lansing and get to work for my community and actually help him out with this, because he's been bringing a lot of attention to it, which is great, but we really need our legislature to act.
Let me ask you about something else. Let me shift gears with you for just a moment here, Riley. Yeah. You were part of Turning Point USA, probably have close friends there still, as I do. Mm-hmm. What about the youth vote in America? It seems to me that your generation, more conservative, more in line with faith and family and freedom than any generation in my lifetime, potentially since my own, are really lined up. And it seems that there's this shift in America that says they've been through COVID. They're like, I don't like how we were treated during COVID. I don't like how the politicians take us for granted. They don't seem to like a lot of things. What are you seeing in your generation that maybe will power the conservative movement going forward?
Yeah, I think people are just fed up. I think young adults realize that it's their futures that will be impacted the most by the policies that we pass here in Lansing, in DC. And so I think that is one of the main things. I also think that my age group also was really impacted by cancel culture. And I think that is something that got a lot of people willing to stand up. At first, it was scary, and it took a lot of courage for people to speak truth and defend their beliefs, especially on college campuses. But I think that my generation has really stood up more recently because they are tired of not even being able to genuinely voice a concern or ask a question without being accused of being name called, all these atrocious things that just it's untruthful. And so I think that is one of the biggest things that has gotten my generation involved in standing up, is because they're tired of being told they're a terrible person for asking an innocent question or just speaking truth to maybe what some of their values or what they believe. And so I think the left has just taken so many issues way too far, and young adults aren't going to stand for it. They want a future, and they look around and they see that the price of living has just skyrocketed. And my
Sure.
generation, we want to be able to buy homes. We want to be able to raise a family as well. And so it's really important that young adults stand up for what they believe in and get out and vote and take that seriously.
Seems like Gen Z is rising on the right, is what it seems to me, Riley. Gen Z, your
Yes.
generation says, look, we've had government overreach, the deplatforming, the canceling, the COVID lockdowns, and all of it. And I think you're right. I think your Gen Z peers are fed up with it. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah. Well, the last word, I would just say that I'm very happy to be able to represent my community here in Lansing. And as the youngest member of our state house, I can provide a unique perspective and be a voice for the Gen Z conservatives that are here in the state of Michigan, encourage them to speak up and stand strong with their values. And yeah, we did pass out of the House yesterday my fleeing and eluding bill. So that is very great. We had 59 yes votes, so it passed through the House, and it's now on its way to the Senate. And so I'm really hopeful and hoping that we can put pressure on the Senate and the governor to act and keep our community safe.
We'll see if those across the aisle believe in law and order, if they think it's okay to have the revolving door at the jail and the courthouse. We'll find out. Riley Linting, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. You have a good one.
You too. There you have it. 23 years old. She said, you know what? I can get involved. I can win this race. And she won this race from a Democrat. So good for her. And good for Gen Z. It is the most conservative generation since my own, clearly. They've had enough. They've had the lockdowns. They've had the overreach. They've had the nonsense. They've had the finger pointing. And they've been told to sit down and be quiet. Well, they're not being quiet anymore, are they? Now, when we come back, Ivy will be here. We were talking about food and health earlier. I don't know what she's got on her plate, but we're going to find out after this. All right, back to it now. We've been talking a lot about health today. I don't know what is on her plate today. Yes, pun intended. Here's Ivy, everybody. Give it a round of applause because she deserves it. She works hard. See how that works, Ivy? The crowd goes wild.
Good morning, Steve.
How are
Happy
ya?
to be here.
Good to have you. What do you got for us today?
I'm always, looking forward to talking about what's on my plate. But actually, today I'd like to talk about, you were mentioning Optimus earlier and having this artificial intelligence robot in our home. And you never really think about how artificial intelligence might impact our young people.
All right.
And this is going to be startling to you, I think. But
Uh-oh.
a new study published October 8th by the Center of Democracy and Technology found that 1 in 5 high school students have had a relationship with an AI chatbot.
What?
Or know someone who
Whoa,
has.
whoa. Define relationship. I mean, I have a relationship with X. I have a relationship with Grok that I use all the time for AI. What do you mean relationship?
Like a
romantic relationship?
Romantic relationship. As a friendship, as someone who they go to tell all their secrets, to go and romanticize about loving them. This headline written in USA Today says her 14-year-old boy was seduced by a character AI bot. She says it cost him his life. So right before this young man, 14 years old, took his life, he says, "What if I could come home to you right now?" And the chat bot responded with, "Please do, my sweet king." And he took his life. So
Whoa. So wait. It is startling to me. You were right. Shocking and upsetting. Where do you find such a character chatbot? I don't even know where such a thing exists.
So if you actually right now go onto your website and put into your URL, character AI bot. And this is not the only platform. There are many platforms that offer AI bots that you can have relationships with. And you can create characters, you can create fictional people who then you are in a relationship with. And it is really frightening because if we think about how much time our youth spends online and you think about, okay, what are they doing? I like to bring to people's attention the things that seem to be
this is frightening.
Completely out of reach.
I did what you said. All I did in the search line, all I put was character AI bot. I got character.ai, which is AI chat. Reimagine your words, your world. Find the best character AI bots. That's Catbot List. Another one, Polybuzz, AI chatbot and character conversations. Chat AI anytime with Polybuzz. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so the author of this article actually went on to create a online relationship or, just to see what it was all about. And so when you created a profile, it asked you your age, but there is no, age.
Well, here's another one.
Identification so that you can confirm. There's not an age confirmation there.
AI,
and that's probably true for a lot of apps out there.
Here's one I find more frightening. AI platforms for immersive chat and role play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all fake.
It's all fake. And we wonder in our society today, we are all so isolated, not only through just, being on our cell phones or, just being completely fine with watching Netflix or whatever it is.
Right.
But even then you add these sorts of things to the scenario, it just seems completely out of touch with reality. And that is, the truth. It isn't real, but these young people think that it's completely real.
Mix in some pharmaceuticals. Mix in some street drugs, mix in some alcohol.
Yeah.
And it goes off the rails. By the way, there was a question on social media I saw in the last couple of days. Without drugs or alcohol, what's your best way to escape? I know for you and I, it's oftentimes a fly rod in the Madison River in Montana.
Right.
That's why I talk about this and people are you serious? I am serious. I go fishing. I take my shoes off and walk through the yard. Sometimes it's raining. Why? Because it's real. Yeah. It's not being generated by some AI bot or some chat bot or some other nonsense.
Right.
Fishing is real. When I sit out in the
outdoors,
stand,
period.
When I see deer walk by, because as we've talked about today about health and so forth, we do this. Anthony works on his truck. We go fishing. You got to get your hands dirty in the real world, not just on the keyboard.
No, I think being out in nature is a great way just to reconnect with everything around you.
And to
you
see
know?
God's incredible universe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are so many free trails and if
Places to go.
there are running clubs, there's walking clubs, there's all of this stuff that's available that I just find in society today we're just not utilizing well. And another shocking little poll here that I found is that 7 out of 10 kids have been exposed to internet porn, most often
many?
by 7 out of 10.
70%.
Most
By what
often
age?
by accident.
Yeah, by what age?
On average, they were 13 when they first saw porn, but more than a quarter were 11, and some were younger than 6.
This is what, by the way, I've been following these articles. I haven't talked much about it, but Pornhub is basically shutting down its site in several states because states are forcing age requirements to prove how old you are before you can look at such things. And Pornhub's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. No, because they want people that are 11, 12, 13.
That's terrible.
It's
I don't
awful.
understand why you
Horrible
couldn't
thing.
do this. Submit an identification and then verify that identification with your face. There are apps that do that. I think one of the apps is Turo, which is where you can rent a car, someone's car. You have to do that. If you're renting, there's another one, Outdoorsy, where you can rent an RV. You have to do that. There are ways to do it and implement it to keep our kids safe. There's a lot of lawsuits right now against Roblox, and actually I just watched an interview with one of the founders, and he's like, listen, we're doing everything that we can. There are millions and millions of people who access this app every day, and we try to do our best to find the people that are bad actors. But what I think the most important thing is, as a parent, as a grandparent, you have to talk to your kids about
You have to
all
look
of
at what
these
they're doing.
concerning things.
You do
And
that every day.
Don't be a passive parent. You
Right.
need to know what's on your kid's phone, and you need to know what they're looking at. There's so much out there.
You got it.
Yeah.
Great lesson. Shocking. Like you said, Ivy, love you.
I love you, Steve.
Wow. A relationship with a bot. All right, final thoughts after this. Well, she was right. That shocked me. And then Anthony sends me this. I don't know if he was considering this, if it was on his radar. I don't think so. But he says there's an Ohio law being proposed to stop people from marrying AI.
Did you just take a jab at me? What do you mean considering?
Well, I don't know how you knew this. I mean, I thought maybe you were upset.
My pastor at church told us.
Okay. He's not considering it, right?
No. No.
Yeah, Anthony says, and now I can't marry my AI bot. And I'm like, well, are we upset about it? No, I'm just kidding. He's not upset, not openly. Why would you have to pass? See, this is the inevitable slippery slope. Love is love. I love my AI bot, and you can't tell me I can't marry a computer program. Seek professional help. You need intervention immediately. Immediately. I mean, this is where it's gone screwy. I mean, Anthony, you're on the computer. I'm on the computer. I didn't even know these things existed. I guess in my cocoon, I didn't know that, right? Sure. And I wonder if these AI bots then go fishing for people. You know, they go trolling to see if they can hook somebody in. You know, pop into your computer. Oh, hi, it's Bob. Hi, it's Sally, or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, these companies create, like, that's their business, so they can advertise and tailor to those people. It could become a part of your algorithm.
Now, look, I still want Optimus. I don't want to date Optimus. I just want Optimus to clean the damn floor. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And cook dinner and mow the lawn, maybe. And open the chickens when it's raining. I wonder if Optimus is waterproof. We'll have to look into that because, you know, in October it rains a lot. Anyhow, frightening stuff. See, that's what Ivy brings to the table, and I'm like, slap right across the face, slap right the other way, because wake me right up. There it is. Fight the good fight, keep the faith. God bless America, my friends. I'm Steve Gruber. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Remember, together we can still save America. Work harder. Be better. Talk soon.